Hello everybody, my name is Sniping is Fun, and I welcome you all back to the next topic for discussion in terms of my Smash discussion videos for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Just like I did back in the days of Smash Bros. 4, I talked about various topics, talked about alternate costumes, alternate colors, final Smash changes, certain characters add or not add, talking about certain characters should be brought back, and various other things. So if you look back at my videos from around 2013, 14, I did many different topics on talking about Smash discussion and just giving my opinion on asking myself a certain question or talking about a certain topic. And I just recently started that again with talking about third-party characters and what third-party characters are left for Smash Bros. What third-party characters should still be in Smash Bros. And that video should hopefully be uploaded before this one. But I'm going to be uploading at least 2 or 3 of these tonight, and then eventually get back to my Smash Newcomers list. Like newcomer ideas, the next one was Matthew from Golden Sun Dark Dawn. That's my 68th character. And I said I was going to, in the last video, I said I was going to do that tonight. I'm going to wait until Wednesday to start recording those again and get on to 70, 80 onward, hopefully, and get at least to 100 newcomers ideas for my series. But this topic, as you see with the thumbnail, because hopefully it's going to be changed eventually, and the name of the video, I wanted to talk about a certain topic that a lot of Smash Bros. Fans, a lot of Nintendo fans in terms of Smash Brothers, seem to have differentiating opinions on. Like a topic that causes so much controversy, so much arguing between fans that are for it and against it. It really kind of makes me question things, and it confuses me a bit, and I guess angers me a bit and stuff like that. And it's just like, are there too many Fire Emblem characters now in Smash Brothers? Are there too many Fire Emblem characters? Should there be new Fire Emblem characters still? The short answer is, for the first question, are there too many Fire Emblem newcomers? The short answer is, from my perspective, no. My long answer is, hell no. I don't think so. And that may be because I'm a fan of the series, and I like seeing Fire Emblem characters added to Smash Bros. But it's also because I think the idea for Fire Emblem representation in Smash Bros. Has gotten so much of a negative connotation in the series that people complain about it for the silliest and stupidest reasons. Right now, in terms of Smash Ultimate, because we have everyone returning from Smash Bros. Before, and they've added Chrom as an Echo player, we have 7 characters so far from Fire Emblem. Marth, Roy, Ike, Corrin, Robin, Lucina, and Chrom. And before I even get into there being too many, one of the major things people complain about in terms of this topic is there's too many sword users. They only pick sword users. There's only like 2 or 3 original characters in the roster. First and foremost, just because you use a sword doesn't mean you are too similar to another character. Swords are just a popular weapon throughout everything, not just video games, animes, movies, TV shows, books, cartoons, whatever. Swords are like the most used weapon in history. It's obvious that a series that's based around medieval times would use a lot of swords. But a lot of people complain about there being too many sword users, and basically just Corrin and Robin are unique characters, and sometimes they throw in Ike, but they throw Marth, Chrom now, Roy and Lucina under the bus, and think, they're all versions of Marth, which quite frankly is true if we're looking at Roy from Melee, but they've changed him up a bit since he came back in Smash 4, and Chrom is more so based off of him with some Ike stuff, and Lucina is based off Marth. So there is some distinct difference there, but I get your complaints. I understand there's too many sword users, especially when people complain there's too many sword users, but there's other weapon types, other class types used in Fire Emblem. And I agree with that. There's other characters to add. People reference characters from old and new games like Hector and Ephraim, Edelgard and Dimitri, and various class types like ninjas and archers and Pegasus riders and people that transform into animal creatures, like things like dragons and everything. There's a lot of other characters to add. And I agree with that. There should be more representation in terms of diversity. But the thing about that is, that's up to intelligence systems. That's not up to Sakurai. It's not up to us to decide. It's up to intelligence systems. And that should not distinctly take a character away from being in Smash Brothers. If it's one of the most popular Fire Emblem characters to add, they should still have a chance to be added. If it's one of the newer Fire Emblem games to represent, they should still have a character that could represent them. Just because it's sword users should not distinctly be like, no, shame, 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 and say, no, I'm not going to put you in because you're using a sword. That gets to the point of, when are you going to draw the line? Because they don't just say it for Fire Emblem, they say it for the entire Smash roster in general. We have too many sword users, no more sword users, screw sword users, knock them out the door. No, we're not going to allow you to get in. No, get out. And so I find that complaint to be really, stupid, because just as many characters fight with their hands and legs in Smash Brothers. Just as many characters use other abilities in Smash Brothers. It's not just swords. Swords only take up a small portion of the roster, and just because if we add any more sword users, it's not going to be that distinctive major, percentage of the roster. And we should not go and say a character doesn't deserve to get in because of their fighting style. Obviously, Sakurai should be looking for more unique, different characters, but if he wants to represent Fire Emblem more, and I don't see any problem with that, and the characters he has to choose from, some of them have swords, just because they have swords shouldn't be distinctly kicking them out of the running in comparison to a Fire Emblem character or some other character that doesn't use a sword. It should be based off the character, not necessarily their fighting style. That should really come second. If you represent a character just because of their fighting style, just because they could be unique, that can cause a major problem too sometimes. It's like you have to have both, but you need to look at the character first, not how they would fight and not weapon they fight with. But that's basically all I want to say about the weapon thing. Like, a lot of people complain about swords, but they want other characters used with other fighting styles used for Fire Emblem. And I agree with that. They should be. And I do think we're going to get a character that has a different fighting style. I think we're going to get another Fire Emblem newcomer, at least one more. And I think the choice they might go for would be someone that's not a sword user. But if they are a sword user, I won't complain because it's a character to add. There you go. But like, on the topic of, are there too many Fire Emblem characters? I don't think so. We just have 7. And people say, oh, that's a lot. That's one of the biggest franchises. Fire Emblem doesn't deserve it. Really? A franchise that's from 1990, it's going on its 16th game, has numerous spin-offs like Heroes and Warriors, is showing up in Smash Bros. Now and got even bigger because of Smash Bros. And now has an audience outside of Japan. It's almost a religion in Japan. It's one of the biggest franchises in Japan. It's no Dragon Quest levels of, religion franchise that people adore. But it's huge. It's huge in Japan. And like, people say, oh, but it's huge only in Japan. No, it's huge around the world. Since 2003, since the series came out outside of Japan with the 7th game, the series has only gotten more popular. And some of that is from Smash Brothers, but people have started playing the games and they like it. I like Fire Emblem because of the characters, because of the story, because of the gameplay, the music, the art styles. The gameplay. I love moving my units across the field, hoping they don't die, having to reset a level a billion times over, the challenge of the games, and the fun story and characters. And now we can customize characters, do stuff online, do other extra little things, and change up class types and make the characters our own and how we want to distinctly use them. It's like chess. Like strategic. I love strategy RPGs. I love Fire Emblem, and it's because of that I like franchises like Final Fantasy Tactics and Disgaea and stuff like that. And I just love the franchise, and I love seeing the franchises I like get represented in Smash Bros. I'm just like all of you out there. There's other people out there that like Fire Emblem that want to see it get more represented. And if you like Mario or Pokemon or Xenoblade or Animal Crossing or WarioWare and Wario Land or any other franchise, you want to see those franchises get represented too. And I don't think just leaving it at 7 is the best way of leaving on Fire Emblem. And I don't think that's a lot of numbers either, because, like I said, the franchise has grown a lot. It is one of Nintendo's biggest franchises. It's grown a lot since, because it's almost 30 years old. In 2020, it's going to be 30 years old. The franchise is as old as I am, because I'm also 28, and it's 28 right now. I've been around since the series came out, so I'm as old as Fire Emblem is. But it's like, it's been around long enough in Japan to gain a following, and people will then say, "Oh, it's only super popular in Japan." Of course, it is more popular in Japan. It's been around a lot longer in Japan than it was here. But our popularity in Europe, in America, and in other parts of the world is steadily growing, and it's getting almost to the levels of Japan. It's grown in popularity because of Smash Bros. Melee and Brawl, and localizing the games over 7, Sacred Stones, Path of Radiance, Radiant Dawn, and Shadow Dragon, sort of. And we never got Heroes of Light and Shadow, which still kind of irks me a bit. But then ever since Awakening, that popularity and that growth in that series skyrocketed even more to Fates, and then including multiple characters in Smash Bros. 4. Now we got Heroes on the phone as a mobile game. We have Fire Emblem Warriors spin-off with Koei Tecmo with Dynasty Warriors Samurai Warriors with the Mushu games. It's getting big. It deserves the representation it gets. It may not be Mario or Pokemon, but it's pretty much on the same level, almost at least of a Zelda, or at least close to it. It is one of the top probably 10 major selling Nintendo franchises. If you Why doesn't it deserve it? Put in the comment section, why does it not deserve the representation it gets? Even Sakurai has come out and said why it deserves the representation it gets. It's because Fire Emblem is like Pokemon. Each game is a new cast of characters. Each game has 100+ new characters, main characters, side characters, villains. It's a long-standing franchise. Like every Pokemon generation adds Pokemon, every new Fire Emblem game adds a bunch of Fire Emblem characters. Some Fire Emblem games have one main character, some have two, some have three, some have four. There's probably about 20 main characters as of now between Shadow Dragon and Three Houses. Because some games have multiple characters. There's a ton of side characters that are important to the series, and there's a ton of villains that are important to the series, which we don't even have a Fire Emblem villain yet. And you can't tell me we can stop adding Fire Emblem representation till there's at least one villain representing them. But it's like, that's the reason why he said it deserves representation it gets. And it's kind of become known that Fire Emblem has gotten at least one newcomer every single Smash Bros. Game since Melee. It's gotten, Marth and Roy, then they added Ike and took out Roy, then they add, the Fire Emblem Awakening, cast and Fates with, Corrin, and they brought back Roy, and now we've added in Chrom. But I don't think they're going to only add Chrom, because Chrom was a character that should have been in Smash Brothers 4. And I feel him being an Ultimate is like rectifying and repairing the problem that he didn't when he didn't add him in Smash 4. And he's also an Echo Fighter. I don't think the only new Fire Emblem character we're getting in this game is going to be an Echo Fighter that could have happened in Smash 4. Especially because history has shown in terms of Fire Emblem representation, just like Pokemon, they always add at least one character from one of the newer games. How is adding an Awakening character fitting that when that came out in 2013? There's 2 new games now. Echo Shadows of Valentia, and next year 3 Houses. If you don't think at least one of those games are going to represent 3 Houses, it goes against everything Smash Bros. Has done so far. I'm assuming the 3 Houses character will be DLC, but I only hope that someone like an Echo Shadows of Valentia character, Alm or Self, will get added to the main roster. And it doesn't take away from other franchises. Wario can get a second character. Mario can get another one. Pokemon's probably can get a Generation 7 rep. We're going to get probably another Xenoblade character, at least one, Elma or Rex and Pyra. At least one of them. Other franchises are going to get other characters. It's not taking away representation from other franchises for Fire Emblem to get more representation. I'm just saying that. Is there too many? No. I think a good number for Fire Emblem is like 8 to 9. Maybe 10 in the future. It does deserve it. I'm sorry if you don't agree with me and maybe a fanboy for it, but it's like, I like other franchises too. I want Xenoblade to get another rep. I want to see a Generation 7 Pokemon. I want to see WarioWare get another rep. I want to see various third-party characters like Rayman, Shantae, and Travis Touchdown, and all these other characters, more retro characters, someone from Rhythm Heaven, someone from Advanced Wars, Golden Sun, Sin and Punishment. I want to see all these other characters too, but that does not still take away from the fact that I want to see more Fire Emblem characters, because I like to see those other unique, different fighting styles represented. I want to see a villain represented. I want to see Echo Shadows, Valentia, and 3 Houses represented, because history has shown us from Sakurai representing Smash Bros. Games, he always kind of represents the newer games, and so far Echo still doesn't have a rep, and 3 Houses doesn't have a rep. It's like, he's not just going to change on the fly just for that. So, in my opinion, and maybe that's how fanboys should know, they can get another character, 2 characters, 3 characters, but that does not take away from other franchises, and it's not like they don't deserve it. The series has been around long enough, it's popular enough, it has diverse cast enough to deserve it, especially because we can get other representatives from newer games, fighting styles, weapon classes, and villains. Just because you think 7 is too many doesn't really make it too many. Sakurai probably doesn't think it's too many. He's probably going to add at least one more. And on that, I would accept it easily. I'm just tired of people complaining about Fire Emblem and Smash Bros. When they truly don't see how it deserves. It's finally getting the representation it deserves in Smash Bros. I can understand Melee, only Marth and Roy because it wasn't outside Japan. Brawl was underrepresented though. It was just Marth and Ike, and it should have at least had a 3rd character. They finally gave us all that because of how much Brawl lacked in Fire Emblem. They gave us 3 new characters, four characters if you had Roy, bring Roy back, in Smash Brothers 4. And now we have Chrom and hope potentially Almer Celica, a villain like Camus or Black Knight, and then either from Three Houses, Byleth, Edelgard, Dimitri, or Claude, one of which is an archer, one of which is a lance user, one of which is an axe user that uses magic, and one of which is a multi-weapon user. Ton of diversity. For those of you out there that are complaining against the diversity of Fire Emblem characters, most of the newcomer ideas from Echoes and Shadows of Valentia don't just use a sword or don't use a sword at all. There's villain representatives that can still be more unique and different. And that's it. It just astonishes me like how many people start fan wars, start complaining wars over Fire Emblem representation. I'm on the 4 side. I want to see more characters, but there's people there obviously on the other side, and we clash so much on Facebook and Smash boards and YouTube and online. I've seen them. I've been in the middle of them, and I'm tired of it. I really am. I truly believe Fire Emblem is not overrepresented. It deserves more representatives, but it does not take away from other franchises, because you know what? Both can happen. And that's it. My name is One. Peace. Please subscribe if you want to. Have a lovely day. And put in the comments section what you're saying. Do you guys think there's too much Fire Emblem representation? And if you don't, who do you want to see added to Smash Ultimate or a future Smash Brothers game? Put in the comment section below. You can discuss it there. That's my second. And I'll see you all later in the next Smash Bros. Discussion, and when I bring back the newcomer series, because Matthew's next, then it's Lloyd Irving, and then Lilac from Freedom Plant. See you all later.